The financial decisions that you make in your 20s can have a massive impact on the rest of your life. And in this video, I'm going to give you my opinions about what the right moves to make are so that you can set yourself up for success rather than failure. Listen, I was just in my 20s. I just crossed over to my 30s. So I want to be able to help you guys. I'll be answering some key tax questions at the end of this video from some of my subscribers. So let's dive in. Let's talk about the value of your skills. For most people, the journey of life goes something like this. You go to elementary school, then middle school, then high school, and then about 60% of you go to college. You see, many people take on tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of student loans just to go to college. But after high school or college, you suddenly have to face the real world. You know, where bills are due and you have to use the skills you have generated to make money and earn a living. Here's the problem with this ideology. A lot of people who get out of high school or college don't actually have skills that are very valuable in the marketplace today. You might have been great at playing ultimate frisbee in gym class or doing book reports, but that doesn't mean you automatically will be able to find a high-paying job when you graduate. And as a matter of fact, if you have nothing but a high school degree, you'll most likely have a very hard time finding a high-paying job. The same can be true for many different college majors. A lot of college majors are emotionally or intellectually fulfilling to study, but don't give you skills that are actually valuable in the marketplace today. When you add a $50,000 or $100,000 student loan debt to a lack of marketable skills, this can create an extremely difficult situation for new graduates, and it's something that isn't talked about enough in my opinion. A lot of people just sort of sleepwalk into a huge financial trap that can be a burden for them for decades. Prioritizing investing too soon. Here's where a lot of people go wrong. Many new graduates simply take the first job that they can get, even if it's a low-paying job. Then they think that investing will save them financially. Yes. It is true that if you invest into the S&P 500, you can generate average returns of around 8 to 10%, and these investments can grow over time, which is great, but that does not mean that is where you should be putting a bulk of your extra money when you're just starting your career. The reason is because when you're young, it can make a lot more sense to invest in yourself so that you can generate a higher level of income as opposed to just investing in the market. In other words, if you graduate from high school or college and you're somebody that's making less than $50,000 per year, you do not have an investing or savings problem, you have more of an income problem. For many people in this circumstance, it's going to be much more worthwhile to invest extra money into acquiring skills that can help you to become a different person that can make more money rather than putting into the stock market to get a 7 or 10% return. Let's do some basic math here to illustrate my point. Assume when you graduate college, you get a job that pays you $40,000 per year. After all of your bills and expenses, you have $7,000 left over. If you invest that $7K into the S&P 500, you can make 10%, about $700. Not very good. Or you could take that $7,000, invest it into a training program that will allow you to make more income. For example, you could invest the money into a training course to become a real estate agent. You could invest it into a course that teaches you how to do high-ticket sales. You could invest the money into a coding or social media marketing bootcamp. If you really put the time in to look for great programs to increase your skills, you will find that there are tons of excellent options out there. Even if you can increase your income from $40,000 to $50,000, that would still result in $30,000 of additional income over the next 3 years compared to the $2,000 to $2,500 that you would get if you put that money into the stock market. Now, if you can raise your income even more than that, the returns can be significantly higher. We can do the math on that. For example, let's say that you invest in a sales training program that leads you to a sales opportunity where you start making $80,000 per year instead of the $40,000 per year you were originally making. In this situation, you would make $120,000 of extra income over the course of 3 years compared to the $2,000 to $2,500 that you might have made with the stock market during that same time period. So if you're still making below $50,000, then I would highly recommend that you spend your extra money on acquiring more valuable skills. Let's talk about living cheaply. This is also something that we need to talk about. When you're just getting started out in your early 20s, it can also be extremely beneficial to live as cheaply as you can. I know it's hard, but the reason is because the lower that your expenses are, the more money that you will be able to invest into acquiring valuable skills. Having lower expenses will make the entire process more manageable for you. It might be tempting to buy that brand new car with a large auto loan or to live in the nicest possible place that you can or can't afford, but doing these things can make things so much harder on you than it needs to be. Instead, consider living with roommates or even with your parents for a little while. This is an option, guys. And while you get to your next phase of your professional development, you're learning skills. Now, to go back to the example, that $40,000 per year of income, let's say that you live with 4 of your friends, which lowers your rent significantly. Then you might be able to get your expenses down to $25,000 or $20,000. This would give you an extra $15,000 to $20,000 to invest into acquiring new skills instead of that $7,000. Big difference. There are so many courses, mentorships, workshops, training programs, mastermind events that you could buy with that money. The mistake that many people make is that when they're young, they fail to realize that the best investment that they can make is in their own earning potential. And for all of those of you watching this video right now who might be thinking about going to college, know this about college. Getting a degree does not automatically increase your earning potential. Yes, it is true that many degrees do increase it, but if you get a useless degree, then you will not necessarily be in a better position than you were before you entered college, especially if you have a massive amount of student loan debt after you leave college. So, choose your degree very wisely before you decide to go to college, and make sure the degree you choose will give you skills or credentials that you can use to increase your earning potential. So when should you actually start investing? For most people, I would recommend continuing to prioritize increasing your income until it is at the very least 70 to 100,000 before you start focusing on investing. With this level of income, most people can live relatively comfortable and have a decent amount of money left over to invest. Of course, if you live in an extremely expensive city, New York City, Los Angeles, or if you have a ton of debt, then your income might have to be significantly higher before you think about investing yourself. But it's going to come around. When you do get there, how should you invest? Let's talk about some of the different options that are available for you. As I mentioned earlier, you can invest into the stock market. You can invest into indexes like the S&P 500 to generate about 10% a year. For most people, this is going to be the most safest and most straightforward options. So, if your goal is to just keep your investments as safe as possible and to reduce your risk, then these options are great for you. However, stocks are not the only assets that you can invest in, and due to the high amounts of inflation that we've experienced in, the last year or two, many people have been drawn to assets that are designed to be inflation hedges, such as gold or Bitcoin. Both of these can be good investments as well. You should also keep in mind that certain investments have fantastic tax benefits while others just do not. For example, retirement accounts such as 401ks and IRAs are highly tax advantaged. If your employer offers matching contributions for 401ks, then they can be even more attractive for you. With a traditional 401k, you can invest with pre-tax dollars, then your account can grow tax deferred. You are only taxed when you take money out upon withdrawal. With a Roth 401k, you can invest with after-tax dollars and your account can grow completely tax-free. The government created these tax breaks for retirement accounts to incentivize people to save for retirement. But it is true, some people worry that taxes might be higher when they go to withdraw from a traditional 401k or an IRA down the line. But if you invest into a Roth 401k or a Roth IRA, you won't have to worry about that because you won't owe any taxes when you withdraw that money. So please be aware of that. Now, let's talk about my favorite asset class, real estate. Speaking of tax-advantaged investments, rental real estate can also be a fantastic way to go. The government provides many amazing tax benefits for rental real estate investing. For example, it allows you to claim depreciation, my favorite deduction. Go depreciation, go depreciation, go depreciation. I love it. You get a write-off for the entire building value. Let's say you buy an investment property with a building value of $500,000. You would be able to write off that $500,000 over a period of time. If you play your cards right, you could also potentially use real estate losses to offset W-2 or 1099 income. That is one of the most advanced topics I speak on. If you want to learn more about that, check this video out right here. Real estate investments also generate consistent cash flow that can act as a great inflation hedge due to properties appreciating. You see, between the key tax benefits, the cash flow, the property appreciation, real estate investments are great choices for many people. However, if you go to the traditional mortgage route, keep in mind that you will need to put a down payment around 15 to 20% down just to get started. So please make sure you look into creative financing. What about just saving money? It is generally a good idea to have at least a few months worth of expenses saved in your savings account. This way, if anything goes wrong or if you have an expensive emergency, you'll be able to stay afloat financially while you resolve the situation. However, it's also important to remember that the interest rates that most savings accounts pay in America are extremely unimpressive. In fact, the national average interest rate savings account in the United States is just 0.43%. This is lower than the rate of inflation, which means that when you keep money in your bank account, the money will most likely be losing purchasing power every year, every day, even if you're being paid interest. There are some high yield savings account interest rates that are higher than the inflation rate, but on average, most of these savings accounts are pretty low and range between 3 to 4.5%. This means that if you just keep your money in cash, the value of your savings will tend to be eaten away by inflation over time. It's inevitable. That is why it can make more sense to put your money into the stock market, real estate, gold, or even Bitcoin if you're more adventurous. Bitcoin is newer and more volatile compared to the other assets that I normally talk about, but it was worth less than a penny in 2009, and at the time of this video, it's over $100,000. It's hard to argue with those results, so it might be worth an allocation of at least 1 to 3% of your portfolio if you can stomach the volatility. I personally love Bitcoin, and there are actually ways that you can invest in Bitcoin that have great tax advantages. For example, if you invest in Bitcoin mining equipment, you can write off the cost of the mining machines. If you want to learn more about this, book a free consultation in the description below to speak with a member of my team. But for today, the bottom line is that if you are currently a low earner, it can make a lot more sense for you to invest your extra money into your own education so you can develop skills that are more valuable and can help you earn more income. That's what I want for everybody that's watching. After you do this and you're making at least a high 5 figures, low 6 figures, maybe even more, it can make more sense to start deploying a large portion of your expendable income into investments like stocks, precious metals, cryptocurrencies, and real estate. Now, what I do is I answer questions for my subscribers. As promised, here's a question from one of my subscribers. The question was asked by Matt Hair X3D on my Avoid These Mistakes Before Starting an LLC video. The question was, if you have multiple rental properties, should you have an LLC for each one? This is a hard question to ask because it depends on your situation. In my real estate portfolio, because my properties are a little bit more expensive, I've placed all of my properties into separate LLCs. But I do have one small portfolio in Indianapolis where each of those properties are under $200,000 in value. So I decided to cluster those all into one LLC. Part of the reason why I did this is because I could stomach the fact that I put all 3 of those properties into one LLC. In the event something happens, yes, that LLC can be attacked, but those properties are not that expensive as some of my other assets that are sitting over 7 figures. Any of my properties that I have that are doing over, let's just say $500,000 or $600,000 in purchase price, I will typically have those properties sit inside of their own LLCs. So I have over 11 LLCs holding my investment properties, and some of them have multiple rentals in them, and some of them only have single rentals in them. Now, if you would like to learn a little bit more about entity structuring, or you need support with entity structuring, please feel free to book a call with my team. We'd be more than happy to help you set up your LLCs or help you structure them. If you're somebody that wants to get help with your tax planning for 2025, be sure to click on the links below. I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it helped you. And if you're somebody that's in your 20s, I just want you to know that I believe in you. Stay focused. You're meant for success if you're watching this video. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.